So Joy is in Freshco, which if you're not Canadian, you won't be familiar with. It's like a discount grocery store. And I cannot stand discount grocery stores. They're disgusting. Piles of boxes, they're kind of dirty. They don't have a full-service meat department. They don't have a bakery. It's just a warehouse full of packaged food. Not my favorite. When I go shopping somewhere, I want to go to Farm Boy or Sunripe or Remark, Metro, Loblaws, maybe Superstore, but this place, whatever I said it was called, Freshco, no frills. They're not my favorites. Food Basics is another one. Don't like it as either. I'm a bit picky with the grocery stores. I just want my food to look nice when it's on the shelf. Like, keep the shelves clean. Face the shelves. Clean the floor. I want the staff to look like they don't completely hate their jobs. Is that too much to ask? Like, you spend like $100 a week or more at a grocery store. At least they can do is make the experience decent. So it is Sunday morning and we are on the way to church. 11:15 service. You'll notice I'm not driving. My lovely wife is. The reason I don't drive to church is that I get Joy to drop me off at the front door. Our church building is huge, and if I park down below in the parking lot, it's down a hill. Even parking in a accessible spot in our parking lot, it's quite a trek to get in from the parking lot, down the hall, to the elevator, up the elevator to the main level, and to find seats. So I get Joy to let me off at the front door, which is much closer to where I need to be. But right now we're just doing circles around the church, waiting for the school buses to move that bring students from the campus, university, college. I don't know why they can't walk further and just let them off somewhere else and let the disabled and elderly people get let off at the front door, but I don't make the rules. But anyway, we are here. Just got home from church and dinner. Well, not dinner, lunch. Hi, Franklin. So got home from church, had pancakes for lunch, and then I'm sitting down here enjoying a nice cup of coffee. So today at church, I had a really fascinating discussion with a friend of mine, Dan. Hey, Dan. Apparently Dan watches my videos, so I'm pretty pumped about that. So thank you, Dan. He's one of my 22 subscribers. So the discussion I had with Dan today was, how do you teach kids that don't have disabilities? How do you teach them to interact with kids or people that do have disabilities? As a parent with two little boys, Dan's wondering, how does he avoid those kind of awkward situations where they're out in public and their kids see somebody with a disability who maybe walks a bit differently than, what a normal kid would walk like? Or somebody that has maybe just a difference of some kind, maybe even a facial abnormality of some kind. What do you do? I remember once about, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years ago, also on a Sunday, I was walking into church by myself, and there was a guy behind me he had 2 little boys with him. And I overheard one of the little boys ask his dad, "Daddy, what's wrong with that boy?" And the dad was so embarrassed. They were like about 5 feet behind me. I heard it. It doesn't bother me at all. If you're like under 10 years old and you're wondering why I walk a little different, that is normal. If you're 40 and you haven't gotten over that, that's a problem. But these little boys were just curious. They had never seen somebody that walked with my, I don't know what you want to call it, swagger. And so
I like it.
I'm sort of I don't know, I've got my own way. I've been like that forever. I'm used to it. So what do you do in those situations? I think first and foremost, it's important to get your kids out early and have discussions with them when you see people that are different. Maybe you see someone that's a little person, or somebody in a wheelchair, or somebody walking with crutches. There's hundreds of different things you could see. If you hear that flap in the background, we have a cat door. And this door allows our 2 cats, Franklin and Ollie, to come and go as they please when we're home. And so they generally go outside for 5 minutes, and they come inside for 2 or 3 minutes, make sure we're still here, and then they go back out. So there's a YouTube channel that I watch that is significantly more successful than mine at this point, and they have a child who is autistic as well as has cerebral palsy. And the mother is very deliberate about setting up, play dates or things like that, interactions with her child and other children who don't have disabilities. And I have to say, this is good for both parties. Kids with disabilities need to learn to interact with kids that don't have disabilities. But on the flip side, kids that don't have disabilities need to learn how to accept and include kids that do have disabilities. And it starts at a young age, those interactions at 2 and 3 and 4 years old. So looking at it from the standpoint of a parent, number one, don't be embarrassed by your kids when they ask these questions. Like, it's going to happen. Like, inevitably, your kids are going to see something they haven't seen before, and they're going to ask about it. If you're out and about and you see someone that maybe looks different, instead of pointing and talking about a person from afar, why not just approach them and have your child ask? If you're 40 and you come up and ask, you're just ignorant.
So how does one avoid being ignorant at 40?
It's too late. If you're ignorant at 40, the ship has sailed. Hi, lovey.
Okay.
Hi, sweetie.
Can we just talk?
This is a big deal. Joy is an introvert. Like, she does not like people. If you're a person, she doesn't like you.
It's not true.
It's true.
Anyway, this is just an experiment. This isn't necessarily going on the video.
Every week.
Right?
Why is Joy sitting in front of the camera? Let me give you a little bit of background here. For the last couple of videos, Joy has been on the other side of the camera, and she feels like I'm not doing it quite right. Guys, you know exactly what's happening here. So she feels that if she is in this video, that this is going to turn it all around.
No, I just think that the conversation will flow a little easier if we have a conversation about it and not just you
blab into the camera. That's pretty much what she's saying.
Okay, so
let's talk.
Let's talk about socialization.
She's pretty, by the way. everybody's looking to point out differences. It's human nature. You flock to people who are the same, and you shun the people who are different. And that takes a deliberate effort on the part of parents to teach their children from a very young age that people are different. People have different skin colors. People have different ability levels. People walk differently. Some people are fast runners. Some people have to use a wheelchair. That starts really, really young.
One really good resource that we found about maybe starting some discussions about people who are different than you is the YouTube channel called Special Books by Special Kids.
SBSK.
SBSK. And the guy that hosts it, I can't remember his name right now.
I don't remember.
He does interviews with kids or sometimes adults that have a disability or struggle with mental health, and just to bring awareness that we, all humans, have a basic need for relationship and to be accepted and to have friends. And so he uses this community to bring awareness and to encourage openness and discussion about people that are different than yourself. And so not every video would be appropriate for a child perhaps, but it could be a good way to start that. Because it's interesting, the one thing he asks almost every person that he interviews is, if people saw you and they wanted to come up to you, what do you want them to say to you? And it's, hi. And I think...
Yeah, people make this way more complicated than it needs to be. If you are in a setting, let's say you have a toddler and you're at an event and there's another toddler there and that child happens to have a disability, there's really absolutely no difference between approaching that child versus any other child. You would say hello, maybe you would share a toy. It's exactly the same.
How much more can we ramble on about this topic?
We can ramble for a long time. So now that you do know that there's proof that I do have a wife, and she's not just behind the camera, I never in a million years thought that I would ever get married. And it did cross my mind as a young man, well, teenager, that if I was going to get married, it would probably be to a girl that had spina bifida. Because how could anybody else relate to the things that I deal with other than a person with spina bifida? So I kind of had that in the back of my mind, that this is just going to be the way that it is. So when it came time to meet this lovely lady here, I wasn't thinking about my disability at all. It didn't really cross my mind that she would maybe not accept me or see me as a disabled person. And that sort of spurred me on to pursue her pretty diligently for a year.
We're getting off topic.
Yeah, I know. Well, but we're going to get... See, this is what I got to deal with. 16 and a half years. Anyway.
But the interesting thing is, the majority of our friends don't see you as having disability to a fault sometimes. Like there was one time we were up with friends up near Tobermory, Ontario, and they have a cabin up there, and there's a beautiful park, Cypress Lake, and there's some hiking trails. And this was 10 years ago, so Jonathan was a little fitter.
I didn't have as much girth at that time, okay?
So anyway, so we went on this hike and hike. And Melissa kept saying the end, oh, I think it's just a little further. It's just a little further.
I was like dying.
Just up around the corner.
Dying. I felt like dying. It was like 4 kilometers or something.
Which we didn't know until we got back. But Melissa didn't even think that, Johnny couldn't do it because it gets forgotten, right? Because it becomes secondary because it's about the person. And I think that's how it should be. You get to know the person regardless of what differences that they have, because everyone can bring value and everyone has gifts that they can share, and it's just a matter of figuring out what that is. Even if someone has a developmental disability or is nonverbal, there's other ways to communicate with people. And so,
yeah, if you give somebody a chance, what you'll find is the disability will become a very small part of your relationship with another person if you give it a chance. At some point real soon, we're going to tell the entire love story. So you're going to have to subscribe to make sure that you get the notification to find out when the video releases, and I tell you how I was able to snag this lovely lady. Because you're probably thinking, she is way too good for him. And you're right.
The end. You see how bad that was? We might be cutting that whole thing out.